Zakładam, że to się uda. Cały dzień, chwilę.
Na sprawie widzę, jakie tam prasy
Thank you.
Żałuję, ale jeszcze mi powiedzieli, że
No, thank you. I'll go with the mustard.
Ja muszę opuścić sprzęt do domu, przeklikać się. Brakuje tutaj tego
Prezes tak zestresowany.
Is this yours? No. Whose is it? I don't Oh, there's napkins. Napkins here. Can't see it. Can I get a napkin, please? Thank you.
Krystian, 2 minuty.
2 minutes. Whoa.
You want some more? Sorry, niestety musi stać tutaj ta kamera.
Mamy się uśmiechać, czy jakieś takie bardziej pokerowe? Tak? Okej, dobra. Żeby nie rozkraczać.
I have no idea why I'm shooting.
Lampkę zapasową. Nawigację.
Ja przygarnę każdą lampkę.
nawet psa ci pożyczymy.
Nie, Max
Masz koszyk na psa.
Pilotowałabyś?
A jeździć z dniami, a nie za tobą biegnie na
Nie udało mi się. Biegałem. Robiłem najgorszą rzecz.
Tak, na trenażerze.
Well, Poland
Reaguję
starts.
na dźwięk.
Everyone makes kielbasa.
Yeah. On the barbecue?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Biegałem z nią, że takie napisała pod rower, bo musi umieć prawo.
It's good. I like it.
Ale jak się ją zapnie do roweru, to jest taki szatan. I nie mam tyle odwagi. Po asfalcie nie pobiegnie. Zdarłaby sobie łapę. A swoją drogą czempionat użytkowy jest przebiegnięcie 200 Także są z natury ultrasami. Nie wiem, czy to składem jakimś
Ja to nie dożyjcie.
takie wystawy tylko użytkowo, a nie takie. No i się nigdy nie odważyłem. Może teraz, jak jest 9-latkiem, to jest w miarę ogarnięta, ale kiedyś to był taki szatan. A jak się zatrzyma, jak skręci, jak się rzuci na innego psa w czasie, dramat. Ale się jak rower, jak ciągnie i widzi, że rower jedzie i na linią, to się jara. Od razu jara i się napędzi. Parę razy próbowałem, ale nie mam tyle odwagi, żeby zapierdzielać. W lesie także jest swoją drogą mistrza świata i Europy.
Thank you.
But just finish memory.
Good sausages.
Yeah, they're good. I like them. They're a little bit smoky.
I have to say that actually, they actually know how to do sausages.
Yeah, they do. Huh?
Not like,
Yeah.
like Bavarians, but they have their own style.
Where I live now, the big thing is duck.
Ah, really?
Duck, yeah. It's really big where I live.
Oh, nice.
They do the filet. It's called the magret, and it's the ducks that they make the foie gras with, the fat liver. So their breasts are huge, like proper like half-pound breast of duck, and it's really
You will
good.
make me go to Southwest.
Yeah, yeah. The food there is. You need to be hungry to live there.
Nice.
It's like when you go to the restaurant, you know that you're not gonna come out of that place hungry.
Maybe something about the region. I was traveling some time ago, like in North Spain. When I entered a restaurant, a weird hour for them. The owner who was watching in a camera said like, "Who the fuck is entering to this?" Because it was a small town.
Yeah.
Like when you're checking the restaurant in the camera, he said like, "Who the fuck enters at this hour?" So they are like, "Where are you from?" "Ah, from Mexico." "Ah, why?" So the owner of the restaurant just saw that you enter, and he says like, people like the restaurant is to eat. So here's the casserole. Eat as much as you wish, and then we'll come with the next dish, and so on. So it's like, and it's like, oh, this is my kind of restaurant, you know? Like, they're not like you came to eat, just serve yourself, feed yourself, and be happy.
But Spain is like that. Spain is. I like it because if you go somewhere, you know they're gonna have food. Maybe the kitchen is not gonna be open, but they're gonna make you a sandwich. They're gonna fix something up. They're not gonna let you go out hungry.
Unless you're in Catalonia and it's in nap time and you speak in Spanish, then they're not gonna even
They're gonna be happy. Yeah.
For fun, you can make first few sentences in French. They will be like, what?
The fuck?
Nie potrzebuję tego teraz.
I just realized I'm in the middle of the camera.
To jest pół centymetra. Centymetr matka.
Ale to wtedy trzeba wygenerować nowe miejsce.
I need you to prepare questions in case nobody asks questions. I'm counting on you. Whatever, any question, even like a recipe, whatever. Like, what's your best crepe recipe?
Some issue. I don't understand what they're talking to us, but they will generate the new one.
Okay.
The new session. So. That's what happens sometimes on Ultra as well.
On the road.
Yeah.
If it were that simple, that would be okay. It's sometimes a bit more complicated than that. Like, oh, I ran out of water, and the next town is in 50 kilometers.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I ran out of food, and I don't know where the next resupply is.
If there is any.
Wow. it's now -10. I don't know where I'm gonna sleep.
I was surprised that after the Narin to the Tosor there was nothing. So there was like one day.
Yeah.
And then we missed the shop at the
Yeah.
evening in the Tosor, and we had nothing to Sorry Bulak. Then we were begging after the Tosor, right down to the Tosor, we were begging the food from the shepherds. Działa.
Wspominałeś też, że nie można mieć transmisji w trakcie tego. Jeśli ja na przykład nie robię są jakieś pytania, które chciałbym przekazać komuś, czy coś zrobisz? Nie możesz. Nie, wciągałem mikrofon jak... W sensie, chodzi mi tylko o to, czy jakby z dźwięku mógł sobie oglądać... Zmutuję, w sensie z dźwięku mógł czytać, czy są jakieś pytania. Dasz robić ten link do tego. Ten musiałem zrobić na nowo.
Czekaj, to ja muszę teraz po...
Bo mnie mówić.
I wszędzie na wszystkie grupy po prostu.
Powoli, spokojnie.
Regularnie bywamy na takich
Let's go. They need to go.
Yeah?
Siła.
Temperature is nice
Witam
here.
wszystkich serdecznie na naszym pokazie i na festiwalu, który tworzymy wspólnie od 4 lat. Dzisiaj naszym gościem będzie Sofiane Sehili. Ja nazywam się Marcin Grodziński, jestem twórcą maratonu Ultralajkonik, a także Ultra Adventure. Ze mną jest Christian Wagner, który tworzy wspaniałe rowery Grind Cycles. I obaj wprawdzie jeździmy na maratonach, ale nie w takiej ilości, przez tyle kilometrów, nie przez tyle maratonów co Sofiane. Sofiane pochodzi z Francji, mówi po francusku i po angielsku, więc I will be talking in English as my French is not available. Sofiane przejechał mniej więcej 200 000 kilometrów, zwiedził 50 krajów, 25 maratonów jestem w stanie wymienić, które jechał. W 11 wygrał, z pozostałych był też w ścisłej czołówce. Co mogę powiedzieć? Sofiane jest z nami, ma ogromne doświadczenie. Opowie nam o tym, jak bardzo trudno jest jechać maraton i jaki trzeba mieć setup w głowie, żeby to wszystko się udało. I w trakcie tej prezentacji, prelekcji będziemy mogli zadawać mu pytania po angielsku. Jeżeli ktoś nie umie, to będziemy z Christianem tłumaczyć. Także Sofiane, witamy Cię serdecznie w Polsce. Welcome in Poland and let's start our speech. Yep.
Thank you. Thank you for all the kind words that you said about me and that I did not
Probably
understand.
it was the same what I send you in English.
And I hope that they were really kind words
Yeah.
because I could not understand them. So, as you said, my name is Sofiane Sehili and I have a kind of a weird job because I'm a professional ultra endurance cyclist or bike packer or what you want to call it, adventure cyclist. And it all happened by accident. I decided that one day I wanted to ride my bike to go 50 kilometers away from my house and then 80 kilometers, and then I was on a trip. I was on a trip with a backpack somewhere in Thailand, and I decided to buy a bike. And I was like, it's only $100. If I don't like it, I can always sell it. And I stick with this bike for another 7,000 kilometers. And I completely fell in love with just moving as fast as my legs allow me to do. And it kind of changed completely my life from this moment on. And I didn't realize what was going to happen. But a few years later, after a few more trips that I did in Southeast Asia, in Iran, in Turkey, something kind of was born in me that I needed more. I needed to turn this desire of traveling the land with my bicycle into discovering some things about myself. And I started hearing about ultracycling, about bikepacking. I started hearing about people that seemed to me like they were superhuman, because they were able to ride for 300, 400 kilometers in just one day. And when I heard about that, I was like, how is this even possible? How can a simple man or woman do something like that? And why can't I do it? And then I thought about it a little bit more. I was like, but if some people can do it, maybe I can do it. And this is how it started. It started out of a desire of finding out if the people that were doing that were superhuman, or if they just had like a super will of doing that kind of stuff. And I wanted to emulate that. And so that's how I got into that sport, that kind of weird sport of ultracycling, with my first race, which is called the Tour Divide. And it starts in Canada. It starts in the Rocky Mountains, and you cross a little part of Canada, and then you cross the entirety of the United States along the Rocky Mountains. So it's a lot of climbing. It's really rough roads. You have snow a lot of times, in whether it's in Canada or in Montana at elevation, and then you end up in New Mexico, which is really hot, more than 40 degrees. And so you experience all of these extreme conditions in just the span of 2 weeks. And during my first ultra race, I found out a lot of things about myself. I found out that even if something was really, really hard, like much harder than I anticipated, because I came into this thinking, yeah, I can ride 200 kilometers a day, so I can ride 300. But it doesn't work like that, actually. It's not because you can ride 200 that you can ride 300 the same way. And I found that even though I suffered a lot, it was worth it. Because through that suffering, I was able to accomplish something that had me proud, and that had the people that I knew like completely astonished, completely in awe of what I was capable of doing. And it was just like the first step towards something that developed as a career. Again, it was by accident, because that one race, that Tour Divide, it was the first race that I ever heard about. And it started for me as like, this is the one, you know, it's the Tour Divide. I want to do it. I want to win it, you know? And I started kind of shifting the focus of my life towards this race, and towards like, okay, one day, this race that I heard about somewhere when I was traveling, and I had no idea if I could do it. This is going to be like the goal of my life, to win it. And in that journey of training and doing other races to get ready for this one, I discovered a passion. I discovered a passion for that sport. I also discovered a community of like-minded people that came to the sport because it is a little bit special there, because it's a sport where, sure, we do compete with each others, but we first and foremost compete against ourselves. And this is also one of the reasons why I fell in love with this sport, is that in a lot of other parts of cycling, we don't really share that kind of camaraderie that we do in ultracycling, where the fact that we suffer so much when we're out there on these roads, we do develop a bond, like we become brothers. Because even if I'm riding with some guy and he wants to be first and I want to be first, we know that it's not going to happen like now. It's going to happen maybe in 5 days, maybe in 10 days. But now what's going to happen is like, we just need to make it through the day. And we know that we're both suffering the same way. And so we go through that suffering, and that suffering brings us closer. And we share some stuff. And in the end, you know what? The fact that this guy here wants to be first and that I want to be first, it's gonna push me even more. It's gonna bring the best out of me. And these ingredients, the fact that, you know, I met these people, I met this community, and I discovered so much about what you can do, what you can achieve when you have the right mindset. I started, you know, doing more and more races, and it turns out I was good at them. It turns out that since I was good at them, I did more, and people started following me, and brands started being interested in what I was doing and what I was trying to share with the people that were following me. And it kind of became a job. And I was the first to be surprised because at first I was like anyone else in that amateur sport, is that you buy your own gear, you buy your plane ticket, you buy your bike, and you go out there and you spend, if you go, say, to race the Tour Divide, you spend thousands of dollars to at the end win absolutely nothing, because there's no prize money in the sport. And then I was like everyone else. I was putting my own money into this, and then I started actually having sponsors that were interested in what I was doing, and that allowed me to actually build a career, but also build like my own community of followers and share with these adventures with them. And ultimately, after much trouble due to COVID mostly, I was able to go back to that Tour Divide in 2022, so 6 years after my first attempt, and I was able to win it. And I was able to, and in the meantime, like, things happened so weirdly for me that I got caught up in that whole becoming a professional bike packer that I wanted, and I immediately went on to think about the next race, because I kind of had forgotten that the Tour Divide was kind of the big goal of my life, and now my life was something completely different. It was about, you know, being the best ultra racer or stuff like that. So I went on, won more races, and in a way, it's kind of hard to explain, but I was started to think about why. Not why do I do this? I do it because I like it, which is something weird, because why would you like something that is so hard, so painful? Why would you like going to the extreme places of discomfort? Why would you like something where you can't sleep? Why would you like something where you have to ride sometimes an entire day without food because you missed a resupply?
Okay, so what's the answer is? So why did you do it? Starting with the...
No, the question is not why do I do it. Why do I do it? Because I like it.
Yeah.
But the question is, why do I like it?
So why do you like it?
Why do I like it? That's a good question.
Why do you like it?
And I'm not really sure. But I feel that, I mean, I was born in France in the early 80s, from immigrant parents, but still, I had like a normal life. I went to a nice school, I had good grades. And then I went to university, and I studied, and I got a job, and
What's the answer is?
everything was easy.
Yeah.
Everything was easy. You know, everything was
I
easy.
would like to test yourself.
I was when I was a kid, there was always food on the table. I always had a roof. When I was doing when I was going to school, I didn't really study hard to have good grades. When I got my degree, it was not that hard. I didn't like have to look too long for a job. Like life was easy. I mean, I have to admit that I was born on the right side of the world, you know? Like there's a ton of people, there's like billions of people that don't have it as easy. And some people just like, it's easy and it's okay for them. It's okay for them to have it easy. And I guess that for me was not okay. Because when it's easy, it's just like I don't feel like I'm alive, you know? I need the adventure. But an adventure can be anything, but it needs to be a challenge, you know? If it's given, you know, like if you're on safari, if you're in Kenya in a jeep and you see animals, is it an adventure? Maybe not, because it's given, you know, you give 5,000 euros and then you see,
So
and then you
see what's on the other side of the world. How it's to be in
yeah, but I want
the
to
opposite side.
I want to see it the hard way.
Yep.
Because the hard way, then you've earned it. And what you've earned is priceless. Like as I said, I have a pretty easy life, and I've always had an easy life. I've stayed in really nice hotels. I mean prior to my bikepacking career. Yeah, I live in Paris. It's a beautiful city. Luxury is everywhere. Not that I can afford it, but I've one of the best memories that I have of a room and a meal, despite all the fancy places where I've been, despite the fancy places like in Italy or in Morocco, one of the best souvenirs that I have is I was in Tajikistan in the Pamir Highway. The Pamirs are mountains that are some of the highest in the world. And I was riding there, and I left really early in the morning, and I wanted to make it really far, like 250 kilometers and maybe a little even more. And I had one of the highest pass that I'd ever climbed in my life, 4,600 meters to climb to get there. And I had no idea what time I was gonna get there, and I had no idea what was there. Like, would there be any people? Would there be any guest houses? Would I be able to get a meal? And I got there, and it was dark, and it was very quiet in that village. And I started knocking on doors, and in a house, like a woman opened the door, and I was like, I'm looking for a place to sleep, and she took me to a kitchen. It was just a kitchen, and then there was like 3 beds in the kitchen. Why I don't know. And she was like, "Yeah, you can sleep here." And then she brought me a tray with some hot tea, some boiled potatoes, and a few pieces of lamb and some bread. And I was like, "Wow." It's just like, and it was warm in there. There was a fire going. And I was like, yeah, I made it. I rode the 250 kilometers from point A to point B, climbing that never-ending pass at 4,600 meters. And this is the best hotel room of my life.
So this achievement tastes better than the normal life.
And it's also, it's just the fact that you're not expecting it, you know? The fact that, first off, you worked hard for it. And it was not granted. You didn't know that you were gonna get to that place. You didn't know that that place was gonna be there. I mean, you didn't know that there was gonna be a fire. You didn't know that there's gonna be food, and it's all there. And then you realize, if you put in the right conditions, you can go back to liking the things that are really, really important. What is really, really important, like when you go down to the basics? To have warmth when it's cold out.
Water.
To have water. or tea for that instance, to have warmth, to have food, water, shelter,
Yep.
and be able to, and that's the only thing that is actually important, you know?
And in those places, you've got the people which you can talk to. Yeah. You are not
Well,
alone.
I unlike many of you, I don't speak Russian, so it's a bit complicated for me in Central Asia. but the thing is, when you put yourself in these conditions, when you go out somewhere that is remote, foreign, and you ride, then you just go back, and especially with bike packing, when you're carrying very few items of kit, and you ride, then you put yourself into the situation where you're gonna learn how to like what's really important. You're gonna learn what's important, and you're gonna cherish it. You're gonna be like, I mean, I used to live in Paris. I would go out of my apartment and I would walk in the streets, and there would be the best restaurants in the world, the best bakeries in the world, the best hotels in the world. Everything was the best in the world. I didn't care for that. What's the point? What's the point of just like going out and I mean, of course it's good, but it's not as good as like a dish of potato and somewhere in Central Asia at 11 p.m. because.
Scrambled eggs. Warm
Or scrambled eggs. Yeah. They didn't have scrambled eggs, but
oh, yeah.
that would have. Yeah, that's Morocco. You can find that's Morocco.
Maybe one question, because you mentioned that you do this full time right now.
I do this full time, yes.
This is your job. This is your way to make a
Daily
living.
job.
Yeah, daily job.
Yeah.
Definitely an interesting one. But you also mentioned that it is a lot of suffering, a lot of like during those races. These are pretty extreme, and like for example, Marcin and I, we both raced some of the stuff that you did. Marcin and Piotr raced the Silk Road mountain race. I raced the Atlas. And we as amateurs, as beginners of like such trips, these are the events that destroy us. Like it's something that we recover for weeks later. When you do this often, when you do this like on daily basis, like you repeat those in like every month, every couple of weeks, do this like affect your body? Or is it something that you get used to? Like that it doesn't like affect you as much when you do this so often?
It varies from people to people. Some people are like me. I'm able to race big events like 4 or 5 times a year. Other people that I know, they can maybe do like 2 of them, especially like the really big and hard ones. But I'm lucky that I do have an ability of recovering pretty fast. Like I was able to in 2022 to do Tour Divide, and then add 40 days of recovery, and then do Silk Road. It was not ideal. I was not like 100% when I did Silk Road, but I was still able to win.
There's a lot of.
It's okay. It's okay. But no, for me, it's also the way that I race is since I race with very little stop, but not necessarily pushing really hard. It's also easier to recover from that kind of effort. It would be harder to recover from an effort that would be about pushing hard all the time.
And you mentioned to me that you've been twice in Tour Divide and you've been 3 times on Silk Road mountain race. And the question is, why did you do it again and again, the same track?
So there's 2 different reasons. Tour Divide, I really wanted to win it. It was because that's how it all started. Yeah. That's how it all started. I was somewhere in Cambodia. It was my first ever bike tour. I picked up a book. In the book, I read about the Great Divide, and I was like, one day I will ride this track. It's just a trip. It's just a bike touring trip that anyone can take. It's called the Great Divide. And in 2014, so a few years after that, I tore that Great Divide, and then I hear about the race. And when that happens, it's about, I don't know, day 2 or 3, and I'm having the worst time actually touring this track because it's much harder than anything I did before. And as I kept touring the Great Divide, I got better at it, and I started understanding what it was demanding, and I started understanding how people could actually race that. And there's something, I mean, you don't really become a champion if you don't have pride.
Yeah.
You need to have pride if you want to, if you to become a champion. I'm not saying that this is necessarily a good thing, but this is how it happens, and this is,
Good to possess.
I am a quite prideful person. And I was like, okay, if people can do it, then I can do it. And this is at that time that I decided, I was riding the Great Divide, and I decided I'm gonna race and win the Tour Divide. I was like, this idea was in my head, and it took me from this moment on to the moment that I won the Tour Divide, it took me 8 years. But I never let go of that promise that I made to myself. And this is why I kept going back to the Tour Divide. And then Silk Road is completely different. Silk Road is just like, I love it.
Why?
It's the most beautiful country I've ever seen.
Okay.
It's just crazy. It's just, the landscape is, I don't know.
Range of
It's
what you
like,
can see in Europe, on Africa.
it's on a scale that maybe you will see somewhere in the United States, but not elsewhere. And it's a mix of things. It's also Kyrgyzstan is a wild place. People live like in the Middle Ages. Like they have yurts, they have horses, they have sheep. Basically what they do is just like they bring their yurts on these high plateaus to make their sheep graze, and they gather the sheep with their horses. Like they used to do this for centuries, millenniums even. And you're like transported both in space and in time. And it's one of the few countries where you're just traveling and you end up somewhere. You see that yurt, yurt camp, several yurts, and you see the horses and the sheep, and you sleep there. There's no cell reception. It's just like there's no running water. It's one of the few places where you can actually experience both the beauty of a country and also just living in the simplest way, and seeing people live like people were living
as they can,
and people were living this way 100 years ago, 200 years ago, 300 years ago almost.
But 3 times, why?
Because first time
you told me about the views. And the
first time
times.
I did it and I won, but I wasn't really happy with the way that I won, because I thought that I could have done better.
Okay.
So it was a win, but it was not. I was not really proud of this win. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna do things better.
Okay.
So I went back.
You've been sick.
And I got sick. I got sick at the start. I still managed to win. But then I was like, okay, I did it twice. The first time I had mechanicals. The second time I was sick. So I want to do it the third time and then clean, I want to do it like no problems. Just everything goes well, and I have a good time and I win. And so that was the third time. And the third time, I start. After 20 minutes, I take my phone to put it in airplane mode, and as I go to put it back in my pocket, it just drops on the floor, and a few people ride on it, and then here I am. Looks like 20 minutes in, no phone. And then after 1 hour, I'm like in the aero bars, in a peloton, and like big pothole, I don't see it. Go straight in it, and I end up crashing at probably 35 kilometers per hour. I'm on the floor, all cut up and bloody, and I get a headache and I'm dizzy, and I'm like, I can't really have it good here. I can't really like have a nice, normal, uneventful so-called mountain race. But yeah, after that crash, I broke my derailleur hangers, so I had another one, fixed the derailleur hanger, and I decided, okay, I don't know if I can keep going, but I'll keep going. Oh, yeah, I'll ride without a phone and maybe with a concussion, and we'll see. And yeah, I won again.
In Poland, we said that doesn't matter what the plan you've got for the track. It matters what the track the plan got
Yeah.
for you. Yeah, so it's the same.
So maybe I'll go a fourth time, and this time will be like nice,
Yeah.
with the phone and no crash and no illness and no
And
mechanicals.
also, you mentioned to me that there's a good idea to be on the track again and again because of the views. Because some of the views you missed because of the night,
Yeah.
and next year you've been in the same spot, but in different time. Yeah, like
That's the
morning or the evening.
That's the one thing that I don't like about this sport is that you ride a lot at night, and so you miss a lot of the scenery, especially in races that are early in the year, like Atlas Mountain Race in Morocco in February. As you can witness,
The nights are so long.
12 hours
12
of
hours,
darkness.
Yeah. It gets like dark at 8 p.m. and it's dark until 8 a.m.
Yeah.
It's so long.
And so you miss a lot
Yeah.
of the scenery.
Actually, I looked at some footage from like fellow YouTubers and stuff, and I was riding the same route but like different
Yeah.
sleeping schedule and stuff, and I was like looking at the footage and I couldn't recognize the stuff I was riding, and I was
Yeah.
like,
Where was it?
sometimes even like scared, like what was I riding during the night, like those all of those like huge cliffs and stuff. Yeah, so that's true. The nights are long.
That's one thing that is not very pleasant about bikepacking, like competitive bikepacking, and especially for me, because early in my career, the way that I was able to win a lot of races is by not sleeping, and by not sleeping, I mean I was able to ride for like 4 days with 2 hours of sleep, and
Total or daily?
total
2 hours for 4 days.
like 96 hours, 2 hours of sleep.
Okay.
So it means like first night no sleep, second night no sleep, third night 1 hour, fourth night 1 hour.
And is it something like you can train with
Yeah,
time and experience?
yeah, you can train that.
Okay.
Yeah, of course.
So it gets better. Like if you
It
don't.
does, yeah.
How
at
do you,
first.
how do you train that? Like it's
By not sleeping.
but like do you do this like in your daily life, or is it just something that you do during the events?
Plays a lot of in poker, so
I will tell you my secret. So my father was a florist.
Okay.
He was working on the market, and every Sunday he would wake up at 6 a.m. to work on the market. But there were a lot of clients, so he needed some help, and he had some help at home, his son. So every Sunday he would wake me up at 6 a.m. because I had to go work on the market. So yeah, I said that I had an easy life. It was kind of easy, but it was not like always easy.
But I mean, from waking up at 6 a.m. to not sleeping for 4 days, it's a
Well,
long day.
I was a teenager. I was 18.
somehow you have to start it.
Yeah, probably.
I was 18, so on Saturday nights I was not staying home watching TV. I was going out with friends, and we were having a few drinks.
Secret.
And sometimes instead of going home at midnight, I would come home at 4 a.m. So that's 2 hours of sleep. You sleep 2 hours and then you work your shift on the market for 6 or 7 hours. And
Reminds you of flowers.
I like flowers, yeah.
In Kyrgyzstan where there's no flowers.
Very little flowers in Kyrgyzstan, yeah.
So the perfect training is going out with friends, not training, just not sleeping.
The perfect training, party. You go party hard and then you go to work.
Exactly.
And you do that. And then you're like, all right, no.
This is how it starts. Okay, does anything scares you on the races? Do you
Cars.
have any fear?
Honestly, the only thing that really scares me is cars.
Cars.
And this is why I mostly race off-road, because off-road there's not as many cars.
Okay.
But being scared,
Yaks, grizzlies, no.
grizzlies, not really, bears, not really, dogs a little bit. I was not really scared of dogs, and then I got bit by a dog in Greece, like really badly. and they almost killed me. Well, they didn't like almost kill me, but they seemed like they were about to kill me. There was a pack of sheepdog. But no, it's not. I'm not really afraid when I'm racing.
Being alone?
Oh no, this is why I do it. I love being alone. No. Honestly, this is why I go to Kyrgyzstan, because in Kyrgyzstan I know that I'm really alone. There's nobody there. No. This is why I love Kyrgyzstan, because like it's beautiful and you're alone, like completely. No, I mean again, I was born in Paris and I grew up in Paris and I spent 40 years of my life there, and you can't be alone there. It's impossible. It's impossible to be alone. So whenever I go out on my bike, the thing that I want the most is being alone. I'm never afraid of being alone.
This is what we are looking for.
Yeah, this is exactly what I'm
drives you
seeking.
to go for far and far.
This is why I'm attracted to the races that happen in countries where very few people live. Like I went to South Africa, Namibia. Of course, if you go to the Atlas in Morocco, it's pretty deserty as well. Tour Divide. Like, if you take the population of British Columbia, Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, New Mexico, and Colorado, it's less people than Paris.
Yeah.
I mean, the city walls, and that's probably 6 or 7 times the size of France. So very quiet, and this is why this is why I go to these places, and you can be sure, like, if there's a race in a really quiet place that happens, that I'm going to be there.
Maybe a small off topic, because like those events, they involve a lot of planning and like also planning of gear, your bike and stuff. And do you, like, for example, when I was planning my rig for the Atlas race, I was planning it for months. Like it was like experimenting with stuff and like checking new things and like finding the best solution. Are you also this way, that you like to experiment with gear, or you have something that you have like really that you are like really used to, something that works for you and you stick to it, or do you like to like experiment with new gear and stuff?
So I would say that in a way, I'm the exact opposite, in that I don't like to think about that stuff really far ahead. And I don't like to obsess about that stuff, but I like to experiment. But like if I have the idea, like going to the Atlas with a gravel bike this year, gravel bike with a suspension, I mean, I had the opportunity to get that suspension fork with 40 millimeters of travel. I was like, yeah, I'll try that out. And I tried it in a previous race, and then I liked it, so I decided to go with that again. But I'm not very into planning.
Okay.
I'm not very interested in all the pre-race stuff, you know. I'm not into research. I don't research the races much. I don't study the course much.
You're not the detailist.
No, not really. You know, because that's not the way that I travel. That's not the way that and this is not why I travel also. When all that stuff started, it was because I wanted to discover stuff on a bike. I wanted to discover.
Normal, like that, when you are overthinker, that you are staying in the same position, not moving forward. Yeah, in the ultra races and in the life, you have to move forward.
You have to.
So
This is the only thing that you can do.
Plan as much as you would like to.
I think you can plan, but if you know everything that you're gonna encounter, it's not as nice, because you don't have that element of surprise.
Yeah.
You know.
I agree.
And I think that's why I don't necessarily like to plan, because I like the surprise. And also, I mean, I don't do races because I like to plan. I do races because I like to ride my bike. And that's the thing that I focus on, riding my bike. And maybe I would be like a better rider if I planned
Stop
more.
lying.
But I don't like to do it. So.
Okay. Ktoś ma jakieś pytanie do Sofiana? Śmiało.
Yes.
During the Silk Road Mountain race, you've 3 times, yes.
Yeah.
And first time you got a rigid bike.
Yeah.
Second time you got hard and next time you got full suspension bike.
Yeah.
So I think the terrain was very hard.
It's pretty hard terrain for sure.
I asked before my Silk Road, Sofiane, did you consider any bike, even the full suspension with bars? And he said, wrote to me, dude, this is the mountain race marathon. So this is what you wrote me.
Yeah, so I tried three different mountain bikes, and I think the best one was hardtail. Hardtail because for me, full suspension makes sense when it's technical. Because when it's technical, with the full suspension, you don't need to be as accurate in the way that you're going to handle the track. It allows you to make a few more mistakes. But Silk Mountain Race is not technical. It's just mostly double track, and but it's really rough and it's really remote. And if anything happens to your bike, you're done because there's no bike shops. And there's more moving parts on a full suspension bike. So there's more things that can go wrong. So for me, I would say go on the safe side. You don't really need the full suspension. The second setup that I had a suspension seat post, and that actually is better because the thing that hurts the most is the little vibrations, not the big ones. And the suspension, like a rear suspension, will help you with the big gaps, but you don't have many of this. What you have a lot is like the small vibrations, and like a suspension seat post is actually better.
Are you more of a drop bar or a flat bar person?
I'm more and more of a drop bar. I used to be like a lot flat bar, but I have to say that now, drop bar is. I mean, for certain races that are technical, definitely flat bar, like Highland Trail 550, or that kind of stuff, where you really need the control and the wide stance. But no, I like both. Yeah, for sure.
And do you have more like background in mountain biking or road
Absolutely
cycling?
not. No.
Okay.
No. I used to be like really bad at mountain biking. Like the first time that I rode the Tour Divide, I was terrible. I was absolutely terrible. I mean, and also I had a gravel bike. Like everybody had mountain bikes, and I was like with my little gravel bike, and I had definitely not enough stuff. And people were looking at me like I was the loser, the guy that didn't know anything, that was never gonna finish. And in a way I understand that, because of course I didn't know anything. But the thing is, here, I was always gonna finish. Because that's what I do. I finish. Even
how did you finish in your first Tour Divide?
Third.
Third. Oh,
Yeah,
that's impressive.
That was good. Yeah. But I was.
But it probably wasn't as competitive as it is now. Like most of those races, they like got more and more competitive.
Of course, yeah. I mean, it was almost 10 years ago.
And also, like your
sure.
level probably like got better over the years.
Yeah, of course.
Well, so.
Yeah, thankfully. Otherwise, I wouldn't run any races.
You had a question.
I'm curious about your sport background. Did you have anything before you started?
Actually, no. I was. It's funny because I was never into sports. In school, no. In school, I had my little glasses, and I was into books, and I studied literature, and I would never exercise or do anything. And what happened is, for me, a bicycle was just a means of transportation. It was just a tool that would help me go from point A to point B. It would help me to go from my house to my school. It would help me to go from after that from my house to my university, and after that from my house to my job, and that was it. And it was only when my job moved. At first, I had only to ride 6 kilometers to get there, and then 6 kilometers to go home. And then it moved on the other side of Paris, and then I had to ride 16 kilometers. And then I was like, I started to get fit, and I started to like it, and I was like, oh yeah, cycling, that's nice. But I was never into sports. I mean, when I was in high school, or I was the worst. I was like a nerd, you know. When I was a nerd.
So how it happened? You started from scratch and you are here.
Yeah, I mean that's what's nice with cycling, because cycling you don't really need to learn it from a young age. Like swimming, if you start swimming at 20, it's over. You're never gonna be a good swimmer. You need to start when you're like this tall.
5.
Yeah, dancing, like ballet dancing, it's the same. But things like trail running, or things that don't really need you to have some really good technique, then you can start at any age and be good at it.
That's true.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying it.
Does anybody has a question to Sofiane?
Will you sing for us something, or are you doing that just during races?
Do you have any requests?
No, but is it kind of you were to like kill the time or to not think of something?
So the first time that I did that is during the Atlas Mountain Race in 2020. So that's the race where I didn't sleep for 4 days. And sometimes I would I was riding and I was falling asleep, and I had to find a way to keep awake, and so I would start singing, and I would sing, but it's very normal for me. I sing all the time. I love singing. I sing in the shower. I sing, and it's like I just like singing. And I was singing on my bike just to be awake. And during this race in 2020, I was having a lot of fun, because everything was going well. Everything was going according to plan. I had my plan of not sleeping the first 2 nights, and then to have this gap between me and the rest of the competition, and it worked. And I was on my way to victory, so I was in really good mood, and I wanted to share these feelings with the people on the other side of Instagram, and I don't know why I started singing, and I had no idea that it would be actually that people would love it so much, because I am not a good singer. But yeah, I don't know. I think what people liked is that I was having fun. And they were seeing someone that was doing something extraordinary, and that was just having a good time and enjoying riding his bike. And I think that's why a lot of people related and still relate to what I do, is because whatever happens during a race, whether I'm first or I was gonna say last, but I'm never last. But I do it because I like it. I do it because I like riding my bike. Because riding my bike brings me joy, and I think a lot of people, not many people, can relate to what it's like to ride for 48 hours or 72 hours without sleep, and to like suffer, like have saddle sores where you can barely sit on your saddle. Not a lot of people know what it feels like, but most people know what it feels like to be out on a ride and just enjoy it and smile and maybe sing and just like be happy. And I think that's why it had such a big impact
for the people who afraid to start riding a lot or start riding a marathon, long distance marathon, what's the one advice would you give to them? Except to
It's
not
all in
be
your head.
overthinker.
It's all in your head. Like, I did this. I was gonna say a million times, but not really. I did it a lot. But I'm the same. If I go for 100 kilometers, after 40 kilometers, I'm like, wow, there's still 60 to go. I'm the same. But if I go for 250, I don't even look, after 150, I don't even look at my computer. I know it's no use to look at it because it's just gonna tell me that it's just the beginning and that when you go for 4 hours, after 2 hours, you're like, oh, another 2 hours. When you go for 12 hours, after 2 hours, you don't even think about the fact that you still need to go. And I think it's the same for if you're going to sign up for an ultra. You don't need to think about the fact that it's going to be 1,000 or 2,000 kilometers, or the fact that it's going to be 2 days or 4 days.
Or 11.
Or 11. I've raced for more than that, actually. But you need to, I mean, in the end, it's gonna happen. You know, you're gonna be out there. It's gonna be kilometer after kilometer, and you don't need to be afraid about that mountain. You know, it's the mountain of kilometers. It's not. It's just like, because you're gonna climb it step by step, and in the end, the finishing something like that, the pride that you're gonna feel, the achievement that it's gonna be, it's something that is quite special. It's something that is quite unique.
So you have to be proud of yourself that you did it.
You have to do your best, you know. And this is why people go to these events. How many people were at the Atlas Mountain Race? 300?
Nearly 280, I think.
How many were there to win?
Twin.
To win. How many signed up for the Atlas Mountain Race to win the race?
150, like almost.
No, to win the race. How many went to the Atlas Mountain Race? They signed up and they wanted to win.
It's like probably the first 10. Yeah.
10.
Yeah.
10 people. 300 people want to finish. 10 people want to win.
Probably something like that.
So you sign up for a race. You know what? Most of the people that are out there, their goal is to do their best. That's it. It's just to do your best. And it's you against you. It's just like, this is why people go there. They want to know what they're capable of, and they also want to see Morocco or Kyrgyzstan but why would, and I think for in the end, and maybe, I don't know if you haven't been doing this for as long as I have, but maybe you had the same experience, that when you do that, you bring life to its simplest expression.
Yeah, that's true. Like one thing I noticed, like during those races, like for 5 or 6 or how many days it takes you, you're like focused only on the simplest things, like only to eat, to sleep, to drink, and like no worries at all, like completely. But then, like going back to the normal life, it turns out like it's the normal, like usual life that's pretty hard. Like I know for me, like packing the bags and going to the airport or just checking and in and out in the hotels, like it was the hard stuff, like the daily stuff that was hard for me. Like the racing is only like the simplest. Like
it's I think this is why we all do it. Yeah. It's because we want to go back to the basics. We want to go back to, say you're in your house and you open your closet. How many t-shirts is there? How many pairs of pants? How many pairs of socks? And you're like, what am I going to wear today? And then it's like, and then you're out on your bike and you open your saddlebag. There's no questions. There's no questions. You know what you're gonna wear. It's all there. There's only one pair of socks. That's it. Or there's only one clean pair or one dry pair. And it's like, and we in these lives that we live that are modern and we have all the comfort and we have all the choices. Sometimes it's just a little bit overwhelming. Sometimes we just like think too much about, I'm gonna do this because then it's gonna happen like that, and then I'm gonna see these people. Oh, maybe I'll call them later, and then we go to this restaurant. Oh, but no, wait, we said we were gonna try this other place. But maybe we should have drinks there before. It's like, no, it's like you're on your bike. What are you gonna eat? What is there? You know, there's no questions. It's like you're gonna sit somewhere, and some guy in Morocco is gonna come up and is gonna be like, what do you have to eat? Eggs, all right, eggs and bread. That's it, and that's it. And it's just like, and it's perfect. And I think this is why we do it, and I think this is why we love it. And I think this is by going to these races that you manage to take this very complex lives that we live, and you bring them back to the basics, to the bare minimum, and you recenter on yourself, and you relearn what is really important. Yeah. And you saw me today arriving with my bike, and I have like, my seat pack is like this big, and then I have like, and you were like, this is all you're carrying? Yeah. And I was like,
that was my question.
This is all I'm carrying.
And you said, yeah, dude, this is only 3 days. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, yeah.
Do you also apply it to like your daily life, like this minimalistic sort of way of life? Like,
I wish.
I wish.
I wish. But nope. No. I have a lot of t-shirts. I have a lot of bikes too, you know. It's like, I mean, if I were minimalistic, I would have one bike and I would do everything with one bike. Instead of I have like 8, and I'm like, what am I gonna do today? Gravel or road? But what kind of road bike? Is it more like flat or hilly or like? No, yeah. And I'm a normal person. I have too many things.
And you did so many races. Like it's probably like asking for a favorite song. But is there like a race or event that has like a special place in your heart? That
Silk Road.
Silk Road,
definitely.
Which one? Like is
the last one, yeah. Yeah. Because I think I when I crashed, I didn't know what was going to happen. When I crashed, I was like, there's no way that I'm going to win this race now, because there was like so many strong riders and the margins were so thin that when I showed up,
scratching?
oh, I thought, you don't have to think about scratching. You don't have to, because when you scratch, you just do it because you have no other choice. It was more like, I hope that I don't have to scratch.
Okay, so you're not thinking about the scratching unless it's really necessary.
I mean, you're always thinking about what it would be like not to race, because it's like an engine, you know. Sometimes when there's too much pressure in an engine, there's a valve, and then there's less pressure. And it's the same in our brains. We suffer so much that at some point we need to by saying, I'm doing this, but I could not be doing it. You know, it's a possibility. I have that possibility of not doing it.
Yourself,
yeah, and by thinking that there is a possibility of not doing it, you let that pressure out, and then you do it.
Okay.
I think that's how it works.
I think you got big puncture.
Big puncture of the brain. But yeah, for me, I was very, very anxious before the start of the race, because I was very afraid that I was not going to win. And for me, it was very important to win this race because I love it, and because I needed like that third win, because I wanted to win it when everybody was there, you know. And at that time, everybody was there, and it was like, if I win this one, then it will be kind of my masterpiece. Okay. And so I crashed, and then I was like, it's gonna be very, very hard to win because, you know, I might have a concussion and I hurt my knee, I hurt my wrist, and it's just like, it's not a good start. It's not really not a good start. And then I managed to come back from that. And when I managed to come back from that, I was like, it was like this not very rational way of thinking that if I survive that, there's a reason. I only survived that because I'm going to win. And after that, when I got back to 100% of my abilities, when I was over the concussion and the crash and I was not in pain anymore, I was convinced, like I knew in myself that I was going to win. Okay. I was like, it's this, now that this is over, that I'm back, nobody's going to take that from me. And this is, and there's several reasons that why this race is special for me, that third one, but this is one of the reasons that, and just like the way that I raced and the fact that I made almost no mistakes and that I pushed hard and I slept very little and I managed to beat a lot of really strong guys. So I was like, okay, I'll always have that.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Sofiane, so you got from bike touring to races. So what's the different for you? Why do you start racing?
So the thing is, I need to go back to my first ever bikepacking trip. So it was 2010, and I had this mountain bike that I bought in Thailand for $100, and I was riding like 100 kilometers every day. And every day, when I got to the point where I finished, to the town, it felt like a miracle, like a proper miracle. I was like, wow, 100 kilometers today, wow. You know, this morning I was way back there, and now I'm here. That's crazy. Just like riding a bike, that's crazy. And that's, you know, that feeling, that was so exciting, you know, that was like, again, that's like a little miracle, and every day I had this little miracle, and I think that's why I fell in love with that, because every day I was creating like this little tiny miracles. But at some point, when you do it 20 times, 40 times, 60 times, whatever, it's not that special anymore, you know? You can't have something that is special if you do it every day for I don't know, 3 months, 4 months. And I think that the reason that I came to racing and the reason that I do these races is that I'm chasing this feeling, the feeling that I had at the very beginning when I started bike touring. I just want to, you know, touch it again. I don't know that I actually do. I don't know that I will actually ever feel like this is a little miracle, you know? I mean, nowadays when I ride 250 and it takes me 10 hours, I did it last Sunday, and it's like I just rode home and then I had dinner and then I watched some TV, and then that was just a day, you know?
We have a nice 250 tomorrow. Just a nice day.
And the train is on your way, so.
Yeah. But I'm chasing, you know, I'm trying to get that little spark. Exactly. That's like the first shot of heroin that I see the movie Trainspotting. That's what I've not tried heroin. But I think this is why I got into this sport, and I think this is why I keep doing it. Because, trying to touch that. I remember it so well. The beginnings, you know, when you fall in love with that.
I mean, I can relate to that, because like Atlas was like sort of my first like such serious event, and I think I got like that spark.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it, and like
You will go back.
yeah, like not the same race, but something similar. Like I can relate to the feeling of,
Yeah.
of feeling that in the beginning, because it's a beginning for me. So yeah, it's a really nice feeling.
So your first time when you heard about the Great Divide route, that was a route, not a race.
Yeah.
But you choose for the first time the race.
Yeah.
So why? First
Because
why?
at that time, there were not a lot of races. And at that time also, I didn't really realize how hard it was, you know? I thought that, yeah, I mean, I was able to ride easily 200 kilometers a day on tarmac. And I thought, okay, it's not tarmac, and it's not 200, it has to be around 300. But it seemed to me that it was, yeah, a little bit harder, not a lot harder. So I thought that it was not such a big challenge. Of course I was wrong. It was like a tremendous challenge. But I think, yeah, it goes back to what I was saying about not being good at planning. And this is also, but it's great because then you end up in adventures that if you're realistic about what things are and about what you're capable of, maybe you don't do things the way that I did it, but then it's not as fun. And also at that time there were very few races. I mean, today if you wanna do an ultra, no matter where you are, no matter what the time of the year, there's going to be something not too far away from your house, and you can start and you can like have a taste of what it's like to do an ultra. But at that time it was not the case. It was 2016. You had either Transcontinental, Tour Divide, or Trans Am, or Indian. No, not even Indian Pacific World Race was not even a thing at that time. And yeah, and I was like, I don't really care about Transcontinental and Trans Am. I want to, Tour Divide is the one for me. So that's why I decided for this one.
About sleep, because you are, I think, like a pioneer of ultra cycling, and you are famous because of your no sleeping, I think. And nowadays, I see that ultra people, ultra cyclists are prioritizing sleep and going much harder during the day, and no sleeping time.
Yeah.
And what do you think about this strategy? Is it good? What about you? And is it good for you? Maybe you think or not?
Well, what I think about the strategy is it works. We've seen it. It works. They just sleep more and they ride hard, and yeah, these 4 hours when they stop, if you don't stop, it's going to be 4 hours riding in the dark. You don't ride as much as you do in the night. You're also tired, so you don't ride very 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 hard. You don't have the same concentration. So it's a good strategy. It's a bit more complicated for me though. The reason why I also came up with the no sleep strategy is that it's very hard for me to sleep during these races because of the adrenaline, because of the fact that whenever I'm outside, I don't really get good sleep. Sleep is something that is very complicated for me, and it just suited me. For me, it was almost easier to not sleep because also one of the problems that I have is if I go into my sleeping bag, then getting out of it is the worst. And sometimes I lose a lot of time because I'm in that sleeping bag and I hit the snooze button and I'm like, just 10 more minutes, just 10 more minutes. And the reason being that I've been in the sleeping bag for 2 hours but I got shit sleep, and I'm like, I need more. And this is why I came up with that strategy, because it's just, for me, it was, I didn't have that really terrible moment when it's cold out and you're warm in the sleeping bag and you're like, oh, you need to get out, which I hate. I mean, everybody hates it, but it's just normal.
And any tips of keeping yourself awake during like the third or fourth?
Singing. I was listening to a podcast about a French woman that was flying planes early in the 20th century, like in the 1920s. And she went for a record, the record of the longest flight, the longest time spent in the air. She wasn't going anywhere. She was like, she took off from the airfield, and then she just circled, and the record was around 36 hours. So she had to stay awake, like flying in circles for 36 hours, and she had to find ways to stay awake. One of the ways that she found is like she had a bottle of perfume, and when she was falling asleep, she would take the bottle of perfume and she would like spray her in the eyes. She would spray her own eyes with perfume. So maybe you can try that. Because she beat the record.
I had some pepper spray, maybe that's a good idea.
Yeah. You do Tour Divide, you have it for the bears and you have it for yourself. Yeah.
But like for me, at some point, like, because I had the same problem during the Atlas, that I in the first night, obviously you don't sleep, but the second and third night, like I wanted to sleep, like 3 to 4 hours, just have like the same amount of sleep every day. But it was like during the night, because of the nerves and the adrenaline, I just couldn't sleep. Like it was for me, like I was getting into my sleeping pad and I was laying like for half an hour, and I just couldn't sleep. So,
it's the worst, yeah.
But then on the third night, like it just all came. So. Like, and I couldn't just stop this. Like, I was doing like some like adrenaline, like tablets,
it's horrible.
Like my heartbeat was going up, but I was still sleeping. Like I was at 140, and I was like falling asleep. So, like, it's really hard. Like, I'm super impressed by it.
No, to